Revealed, 10 spine-chilling true horror stories from small towns cursed by sinister secrets. Clearwater was the kind of place where everyone believed they knew each other's stories until the letters started arriving. Emily's heart raced as she stepped into the quiet stillness of her small kitchen. The once familiar scent of pancakes now felt like a mask over a festering wound. She ripped open the envelope, and her blood ran cold as she saw the familiar looping handwriting. "They know what you've hidden." The letter shattered her world. It exposed her father's tragic accident, a secret she had guarded like a treasure long forgotten, something that made her skin crawl. As she recalled that night, the shadows in her quaint backyard grew darker, creeping menacingly, whispering secrets of betrayal. Her father's name echoed in her mind, joined by the hushed tones of neighbors, once friendly, now charged with suspicion. This town, her haven, had turned into a chamber of horrors, each glance turning into a dagger aimed at her heart. The tension was palpable. Backyard barbecues turned eerie, laughter tinged with discomfort. Emily felt isolated, trapped within an invisible web of shame intertwined with the grim tales that now haunted every corner of Clearwater. The mayor, reputable at community gatherings, was hidden behind a mask of dark whispers. Even the local pastor had his own sins murmured among the row of hedges. Emily's perception twisted, revealing a landscape of buried secrets festering beneath the mundane. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Desperation clutched at her throat when Lily disappeared. Just 8 years old, her bright laughter now a haunting memory. The void where her daughter's presence had been was filled with dread. Emily rushed to the authorities, pleading for help, only to be met with indifferent nods and polite lies. Their eyes darted away, reflecting their own fear, their own secretive shadows. Time slipped through her fingers like grains of sand. Where could Lily be? Hidden among the whispers of Clearwater, another child lost to the darkness. Driven by raw fear, Emily sought out others who received the letters. They met in hushed tones, eyes flitting nervously as they exchanged their stories of hidden truths. Together, they dug through town folklore, discovering a sinister curse said to punish those who concealed their sins. They learned of other children who had vanished, swallowed whole by the woods that loomed like predators just outside town. Each revelation tightened the coils of terror around Emily's heart. Her daughter felt trapped, held captive by the legacy of shared shadows. As night enveloped Clearwater, Emily stumbled upon an unsettling connection. A chance glimpse through the trees revealed something monstrous slinking just outside her vision. The letters had escalated, twisting into something darker, more personal. Not just secrets unveiled but threats now hung in the air like a noose. Every minute screamed for her to act. Suddenly, a voice, a familiar, innocent call pierced the night. It echoed in the stillness, drawing her toward the woods where her nightmares twisted and wriggled like creeping vines. But something shifted, a low growl reverberated in her ears. As she turned, a figure loomed out of the darkness, and her heart stopped cold. It screamed, and the sound clawed through the night, a chilling prelude to the horror that awaited. What had she awakened? Would she rescue her daughter before it claimed yet another innocent soul? Emily's breath hitched as the scream sliced through the night air. She felt the primal instinct to flee, to escape the terror crouching in the shadows. But her feet wouldn't budge. A strange magnetic pull, the remnants of a mother's love, kept her rooted to the patchy ground, the dead grass scratching at her ankles as the figure's ominous outline grew clearer. "Lily?" she called, voice trembling. The wind twirled her words, carrying them into the dark. Heart pounding, Emily forced herself to step closer, clawing her way toward the malevolent presence now drifting out of the woods. The glow of the moon battled against thick clouds, casting an eerie glow on the scene, illuminating twisted branches and fallen leaves that crunched under her weight. "Help!" It was Lily's voice, sweet and heartbreaking, echoing from just beyond the grip of the trees. It wrapped around Emily, reels of desperate hope ensnaring her logic. But then she remembered the dark undertones lurking in the letters, the town's sinister secrets twisted into whispers. Was this truly her daughter? Or a cruel ruse meant to lure her into the abyss? The creature shifted, its limbs unnaturally long, fingers curling like blackened roots, ready to snatch her away. "Run!" she screamed, as the fear engulfed her senses, her stomach turning violently. But the sound turned into a chilling laughter. It was neither human nor beast, just pure malice. Emily's instincts screamed at her to turn back, but the desperation to reach Lily surged through her like wildfire. She pressed on, the darkness swallowing her whole. The grip of despair overpowered the fear. Both felt like chains dragging her deeper into a pit she couldn't escape. The laughter ebbed, replaced by a ragged breathing sound that rattled from the depths of the shadows. Then came the voice again, smoother, like silk over gravel, promising comfort wrapped in the guise of familiar warmth. "Mommy Lily." Panic clawed through Emily's chest as she stumbled over roots protruding from the earth like jagged teeth. The more she fought, the more she realized she was plunging into a nightmare where each step forward dragged her closer to doom. She skidded to a halt when the figure detached from the woods, stepping into the light, revealing a doll-like frame dressed in tattered clothes. But it wasn't just her daughter. It was a grotesque mockery of her. The face was trapped in an unearthly grin, eyes vacant yet unsettlingly aware. "We've been waiting for you," the voice chimed, echoing with twisted joy. Emily's pulse raced. "This isn't real. You're not her." "No. But you'll find out soon." The thing raised its hand, and a constellation of tiny eyes emerged from the depths of the forest, each one a piercing gaze of lost children. The ground began to tremble underfoot. Emily knew what was coming, yet she was too late to escape. The shadows swelled around her, curling like smoke seeking to devour. Desperate, she turned to run, but the forest twisted around her, roots clutching at her ankles. There were no more promises of safety. Only dread. With a final stitch of strength, she fought the pull of darkness, letting out a guttural scream that echoed for miles. "You won't take her. I will find you." But laughter chased her, reverberating through the trees, intertwining with her own breath. It promised that the shadows would never let her go. She could feel it, the town's curse tightening its grip around her, ready to ensnare her and Lily forever. As she tore back toward the town, an idea flickered in her mind, a dreadful realization. Maybe it wasn't just Lily they wanted. Maybe the curse was starting with her. And as she darted into the unknown, something dark began to wake in the woods, a terrifying hunger rising with her every footfall. Would she uncover the truth, or become another secret buried beneath Clearwater's chilling history? Emily's heart felt like it was trying to claw its way out of her chest. Each pounding beat echoed the urgency in her mind as she sprinted through the forest, the cold air stinging her lungs. The laughter hung behind her, a malicious symphony of echoes that played with her sanity. While she fled, the shadows slipped amongst the trees like phantoms unnerved by her departure. Branches scratched against her skin, but she barely felt them. All she could think of was Lily. The cursed laughter rang louder, mocking her determination. "Fight, Emily," she whispered to herself, a mantra that offered fleeting courage. Every step felt like she was losing ground, the woods shifting and contorting, attempting to trip her up. The ground beneath her squelched as if the earth itself was imbued with nightmares, wanting to devour her, too. Emily risked a glance back. The darkness seemed alive, pulsating with a sinister energy. The words "We've been waiting for you" echoed in her thoughts, throwing her mind into a whirlpool of dread. Suddenly, the forest opened up to a clearing, a forgotten remnant of what might have been a childhood playground. Rusted swings squeaked in the wind, their creaking voices haunting. Moonlight spilled into the space, illuminating broken shards of glass that were once part of a joyful memory. But now, the air was thick with despair, the kind that made her choke. Emily stumbled forward, searching for some sign of comfort. She felt the weight of the atmosphere shift, a predator drawing closer. "Lily," she called once more, her voice trembling. Silence answered, leaving only the sound of her heavy breathing mingling with the wind. From the corner of her eye, she caught something, a flicker of movement just beyond the tree-line. A figure that looked too familiar, yet twisted in a way that sent chills down her spine. "Lily!" she screamed, heart pounding, voice breaking. But there was no response. The shadows whispered in replies she couldn't decipher, urging her closer to the edge of the woods. Uncertainty gnawed at her. What if she was not just confronting her daughter? What if she was also facing that darkness which now hungered for her? With a sudden rush, she sprinted toward the tree line, hoping to evade whatever waited for her. Yet, the moment her foot crossed the threshold, the air changed, thickening with an unseen pressure. The laughter returned, brighter now, almost jubilant. And then she saw them. Not just shadows, but silhouettes peering out from behind the barks of trees. Hollow eyes that gleamed with darkness, mouths stretching into grotesque grins. Children lost, but not forgotten. They swayed like reeds in the wind, whispering her name in sinister harmony. "Emily, Emily!" Panic surged as she realized the trap, a net spun from grief and longing. "Get away!" she screamed, hands trembling, waving at the figures that loomed closer. Her mind raced, trying to remember the stories she had heard about Clearwater, how the children had vanished, and whispers of a curse swallowed them whole. Emily felt a sharp tug at her heart, as if something was reaching out, grasping her spirit. Images of Lily, laughing and running, flashed before her eyes. "No!" she shouted, defiance coursing through her. As she turned to run back, something snagged her foot. A vine? A root? She collapsed, hands pressing against the cold, wet earth. She could feel it, a pulse beneath her, the life of the curse. It was waking, and it wanted her in ways she could not comprehend. She wrenched herself free, scrambling to her feet. Just behind her, the laughter shifted, a distorted echo. "It's not just her," you will find it taunted, leaving a chill that slithered down her spine. With each step, the shadows writhed, and her heart raced. Emily understood now. To save Lily, she had to confront the darkness inside her, to face the very curse that bound Clearwater, even if it silenced her forever. Each breath deeper, she turned back, consumed by desperation, ready to uncover a truth that might twist her fate into something unrecognizable. As she dove into the chilling embrace of the woods once again, the whispers grew louder, demanding that she join their endless night. Would she be brave enough to unearth the town's deepest sin? The choice was hers to make. The air grew heavier with every step Emily took, the laughter fading just enough to let the dread creep in. Her breath came in sharp gasps, the cold air biting harder, as if the forest itself wanted her to turn back. But no, she couldn't. Lily needed her. As she plunged deeper into the darkness, the shadows gathered, squeezing tighter around her. She could almost hear their whispers now, brushing against her skin like a chilling breeze. Join us," they beckoned. The echoes of lost children floated through her mind, haunting yet strangely alluring. Then she heard it, a distant, dulcet sound that jolted her with awareness. It was a lullaby. Its melody was sweet, soft like a caress, yet it twisted something in her heart, like a thorn digging deeper. "Lily?" she called, her voice trembling in the unwelcome silence. Panic set in as the tune wove a spell, pulling her forward despite the warnings in her gut. She moved through the thickening shadows, every rustle in the underbrush tightening her nerves. Just then, a figure darted past her, a flicker of white in the dark. "Lily!" she shouted again, and for a moment, hope surged through her, only to be squashed by the laughter that erupted, a cackle that filled the air like poison. "She's not here, Emily." It echoed from every direction. Emily's legs buckled, the weight of despair nearly toppling her. She pressed her palm against the bark of a nearby tree, its surface warm under her touch, a stark contrast to the icy fear chilling her bones. "What do you want?" she rasped, voice barely above a whisper. "You couldn't save her then, the shadows crooned. You can't save her now. Just when she thought she might be swallowed whole, a flash lit up the clearing, a striking beam of white that broke through the darkness, pulsing rhythmically. Her heart raced, a beacon of hope pulsing with strange energy like a lighthouse in a storm. As she approached, the light grew brighter, illuminating her path with silvery hues. She could see silhouettes of children drawn to it, wraith-like and hollow. They danced around the beam, their sad eyes flickering like dying stars. Was it a trap? Or a way out? Emily hesitated, caught between the pull of that eerie light and the gnawing darkness. She could hear their whispers now, intermingled with the lullaby, a chilling melody of loss and longing. Suddenly, one of the children stepped forward, skin as pale as moonlight. "Help us," it pleaded, voice barely more than a breath. "You can free us." Seconds ticked away, tension thickening the air. Emily could feel the pulse of dread intertwining with the hope that this glowing light offered. But was it truly freedom, or just another thread to bind her to this cursed place? "Do you want to free us?" the child asked again, and Emily felt the weight of every sorrow those eyes held. "Who are you?" Her words trembled, uncertainty clawing at her. "Lost, like you," the child said, turning its gaze to the shadows gathered just beyond the light. "But we can help you find her if you dare step into the light." Emily glanced back, the darkness behind her flickering with anticipation. She could sense the threat lingering in those shadows, waiting to pounce. The choice bore down on her, the very essence of horror tugging at her heartstrings. Was stepping into that glow a way to rescue Lily? Or was it a path to damnation? As the shadows closed in, clawing at her with icy fingers, she felt the pulse of the curse reach for her once more. Every instinct screamed for her to turn away. But the light flickered, beckoning her closer, promising hope in a place where despair had reigned for too long. The decision lay heavy in her hands, uncertainty thrumming through her veins. Would she take the leap into that unsettling light, or turn back to what the darkness offered? The woods seemed to hold their breath, the laughter fading to an eerie sigh. Emily stood at the edge of both worlds, caught in the balance, poised to uncover a truth that could change everything or seal her fate forever. A pulse echoed in her ears. It was the light, dancing and quivering like a living thing. The children's eyes locked onto hers, urging her with a mix of sorrow and yearning. Emily could feel the pull, the desire to break this curse wrapping around her like an embrace, but it was suffocating. "Just step in," the pale child coaxed, its voice sweet like honey, dripping with the echo of lost dreams. "We'll help you find her." A shiver coursed through her, as the shadows whispered louder, their voices a cacophony of tortured souls. "Don't trust them, don't listen." They filled her thoughts, blurring her vision, making her head spin. It was a game, and she was the pawn. She could feel that now. Emily inhaled deeply, trying to steady her racing heart. The warmth of the tree behind her was fleeting, fading against the chill creeping in from the forest. "Lily!" she called again, desperation crackling in the air. Each sound bounced off the trees, fading into mocking giggles. Still, there was a spark of hope in that light. "If I step in, will I really find her?" The child nodded vigorously. "The light guides us." "It can guide you too," it insisted. But the other children's faces twisted momentarily, flashes of horror flitting past their features. They were trapped, just like her. "No!" came a voice from somewhere deeper in the darkness, raw and guttural. "Stay away." It resonated with a power that made Emily's skin prickle. The shadows writhed, shifting like smoke, their forms swirling toward her menacingly. Panic clawed at her throat. "Help us!" the pale child cried. "We need you." But the warning seeped into her bones, entangled with her fear. She had read enough folklore to recognize the signs. These poor souls, their faces appeared familiar. They were the children from the missing posters plastered all over town. All were lost to the woods, lured by the very lullaby that beckoned her now. What if this was a trap? A sick game played by the forest to ensnare another soul? Yet the thought of Lily, trapped and alone, surged fiercely within her. What if the only chance she had to save her sister lay within those shimmering rays? Emily, the shades whispered, their voices melting together again, join us, stop. She shouted, clenching her fists, feeling her pulse thundering in her ears. I can't. I can't. Suddenly, the light flickered, dimming for a brief moment as the shadows lunged toward her. Fear wrapped around her heart like a vice. She instinctively stumbled back. But just as she thought those dark fingers would engulf her, the pale child lunged forward, its eyes filled with determination. You must choose now. Will you save them or run back to the shadows? The shadow shrieked, a sound that curled her stomach. No. Don't let them take you. Emily's entire being was caught in a whirlpool between dread and hope. Lily's name echoed within her, a desperate call over and over again. If she didn't act soon, what if the light winked out forever, taking her sister with it? Breath hitching, she made her decision. But as she reached forward, a shadow darted beside her, faster than her eyes could follow. She turned, heart racing. It was the darkness itself, swirling, coiling like a snake ready to strike. Choose. It hissed, as if sensing her breaking point. In that split second, Emily felt a flicker of strength surge through her. Maybe there was a way to fight too, but as darkness brushed against her skin, the realization hit hard. The price of her choice loomed larger than ever in every direction. With her heart thrumming wildly, she shouted the only name that mattered. Lily. The forest held its breath, shadows paused, and that light pulsed as if waiting for her next move. What would the truth reveal? Would Emily find her sister, or would she too become a whisper in the dark? The forest's pulse quickened, and the air grew thick, pressing heavily against her chest. Emily felt like she was caught in a vice, but the shadows began to retreat slightly, their forms shifting as if stung by her cry. The pale child, her hopeful eyes catching the faint flicker of the light, took a step forward. Lily, Emily repeated, voice raw, desperation clawing at her insides like a wild animal. It was the only strand anchoring her sanity. Step in, the child urged again, its sweet voice laced with urgency. You can save her. We can save her. But just as Emily contemplated the lure of that light, a rustling erupted from the darkness. It was the sound of movement, like something large and heavy approaching. Heart pounding, she turned her head toward the sound, her breath hitched in her throat. Run! Commanded a low voice, crackling like dry leaves in a fire. It was the same guttural voice that had echoed from the shadows earlier, now clearer, more defined, but mingled with the cries of the pale children. Don't stay here. The pale child stiffened, terror washing over its sweet features. Don't listen. They want to take you. But Emily's instincts kicked into overdrive as she sensed the danger closing in fast. The choice she had felt was inexorable moments ago now teetered on a knife's edge. This was no sanctuary. No light could save her if the very shadows were hungry. Just then, without a second thought, Emily pivoted, her feet propelling her backward into the open dark, trembling legs nearly giving way beneath her. The forest consumed her retreat, the shadows boiling and swirling behind her as the pale child shrieked in outrage. Emily! Don't leave us! Echoes of desperation trailed behind as she plunged into the blackness, twigs snapping loudly beneath her feet. Adrenaline surged, she sprinted deeper into the woods, branches clawing at her as if trying to drag her back. But she couldn't stop. The only thought that held her together was Lily. Her sister needed her. The laughter of the children morphed into sobs, crafting an eerie symphony echoing in the depths, chilling her to the bone. Lily! She cried out again, her voice cracking. I'm coming. But the forest seemed to twist and fold in on itself. With every turn, she felt the earth move underfoot, leading her deeper into an abyss. The light flickered less frequently, and soon, darkness enveloped her completely. Panic set in. There were no sounds, nothing but the pounding in her ears and the unsettling feeling of being watched. Then, she stumbled upon it, a clearing bathed in faint moonlight, the trees around her seemingly holding their breath. It was strange and still, an unnatural silence draping over her like a thick fog. She tried to catch her breath, letting her eyes adjust, and suddenly, she gasped. There, standing at the edge of the clearing, was a figure draped in shadow, its features indistinguishable. It exuded an aura of menace, yet its form felt so familiar. "Emily," it called, voice soft yet steely, sending a shiver down her spine. "You searched for me? Lily?" she whispered, a thread of hope igniting within her. But when the figure stepped forward, there was an ethereal glimmer, and the sight squeezed tightly around her heart. What stood before her was not her sister but a cruel mirage, mocking her with twisted features. "You think you can save her?" The thing sneered. She recoiled in terror, realization dawning. This wasn't Lily, this was something worse. "Come home," it taunted, eyes glinting with malice. "Come join the others." Emily stumbled back, the clearing darkening around her as the shadows crept closer, ready to engulf everything. The question gnawed at her thoughts: could she truly navigate through this nightmare and emerge unscathed? "Choose, Emily. Will you save the light or succumb to the dark?" The shadows writhed restlessly, as if eagerly anticipating her response. In that moment of despair, the world seemed to spin, and her choice became a matter of life and death, for herself and for Lily. As the chilling whisper of the trees swam around her, the forest leaned in, hungry for her decision. Would she fall prey to the shadows, or could she wrestle free of their clutches? What had she awakened in this cursed forest? With dread gripping her heart, she realized that every choice had its price, and now, it was time to pay. Emily's feet stumbled as the shadows twisted closer, their presence oppressive and chilling. A potent dread coursed through her veins, and she refused to let it paralyze her. She could still feel Lily's spirit echoing in the far recesses of her mind, driving her to keep moving. "Run!" The command echoed in her ears, a lifeline. It drowned out the horrific whispers from the latter figure who still lingered at the edge of the clearing, its eyes glinting with torment, heart thumping wildly. Emily turned and sprinted back into the woods. Each step felt like a fight against the heavy darkness, the trees surrounding her closing in as if conspiring against her escape. Branches scratched at her skin, leaves crunched beneath her, but she pressed on. There was no other choice. "Lily!" she shouted, pushing past branches and roots, searching for any sign. The sorrowful cries of the children echoed in the air, weaving in and out of her thoughts. Each sound felt like a nail pressing into her mind, reinforcing the need to find her sister. But the horrors lurking in the woods were relentless. Ahead, a surge of cold wind raced from the depth of the forest, whipping past her with a physical force. Emily stumbled, vision blurring as the icy tendrils of the unknown reached for her, almost begging her to turn around. She couldn't. She had to keep moving. But something was changing. Ahead, the woods opened again, revealing another clearing. Not just any clearing. It was larger than the first, and the moon hung heavy above, casting an eerie light down like a spotlight on the true heart of this nightmare. As she stepped into the open, the moonlight revealed a sight that made bile rise in her throat. Gnarled trees encircled the clearing, their twisted branches resembling skeletal hands raising upward. Scattered around them were remnants, trinkets, dolls, old shoes, mementos abandoned in the wake of despair. Each one told a story, and each whispered its terrible fate. The air thickened with a sense of purpose, shooting dread through her core. In the center of the clearing, a figure suddenly spun into view. Not a shadow this time, but a girl, another pale child, eerily familiar. "Emily," she called, her voice garbled, like bones scraping against each other. "She is lost. They will take her." "Who?" Emily shouted, panic and anger blending in her chest. The woods began to hum a low, unsettling tune, vibrating in her bones. "Who will take her? They feed on fear." The child stepped closer, shadows undulating at her feet, eager to spread and consume. "You must see her before it's too late." Before Emily could comprehend what this meant, the haunting laughter erupted around her again. The shadows weren't just lurking, they were celebrating her confusion. Each burst of laughter resonated hauntingly, filling her with despair. She grabbed her hair, breath quickening. "Stop! Where is Lily?" But the shadows tightened around her, whispering darker secrets. Suddenly, the clearing exploded with energy, shadows flaring and flickering like fire. Emily felt her vision tunnel as the connection to reality strained under the weight of their power. She stumbled backward, heart racing, her lungs ached. And then silence. In that stillness, the child's eyes glinted again, and the forest, once menacing, held a promise of clarity. "You will find her if you venture deeper." The shadows shifted, pulling away like a dark curtain revealing just a narrow path. Emily's instinct screamed at her to flee, but something else urged her on. With courage powered by desperation, she stepped forward, cutting through the veil of darkness. But as she moved, the question loomed larger than the trees around her. What horrors awaited her in the very heart of the dark? How far was she willing to go to save her sister? And once there, would she truly want to know the truth? Emily ventured deeper into the woods, her heart pounding like a war drum, each step echoing with urgency. The path ahead was twisted and gnarled, branches reaching for her like the fingers of phantoms, eager to pull her into their suffocating grip. The shadows around her flitted and danced, almost playful, yet they carried a weight that made it hard to breathe. The clearing faded into darkness behind her. She hugged her arms, trembling, wrestling with the urge to turn back. Lily. The name slipped from her lips, trembling with a mix of desperation and dread. Would she even recognize her sister if she found her? Would she even recognize herself? As she pressed on, the atmosphere thickened, a palpable sensation of being watched. Was it just her imagination, or did she feel eyes lurking in the darkness? A whisper snaked through the air, slithering around her thoughts like smoke. "Help us," it cooed, seductive yet sinister. "Who are you?" She shot back, her voice stronger than her fear. "Lost children," the whisper echoed straight through the trees, soft and haunting. "Help us find peace." The air shimmered as if the shadows pulsed, forming vague, twisted faces that peered back at her. They looked like children, faces contorted in agony. Emily stumbled to a halt, her heart racing. "What do you want from me?" One of the figures stepped closer, its eyes hollow and dark, pulling at the threads of her sanity. "We want escape. The darkness is hungry. It takes us all." The weight of their plea settled on her chest, pressing down with an unbearable heaviness. Memories of Lily flashed through her mind, her sister's laugh, the evening sun on their faces, the warmth of a shared secret. Emily felt herself sway, caught in a trap of sorrow and resolve. She breathed in deep, steeling herself. No. She couldn't let them take her. Not now. Not ever. As she turned to push forward, the shadows surged, creeping closer as a swarm, their laughter becoming deafening, mocking. "You cannot leave, Emily," she pushed onward, combating the urge to look back. Each step felt like an act of rebellion, each breath a battle against the tightening grip of fear. But her resolve was tested when the laughter morphed into cries, yes, cries. Of children caught in torment. The forest shifted around her, branches twisting to form dark corridors. Eyes glimmered in the leaves, silent witnesses to her struggle. She closed her eyes tightly, desperation gnawing at her insides. Then, a glimmer. Ahead, a faint light flickered through the trees like a candle's glow. It was weak but inviting. Emily made her way toward it, the genuine warmth drawing her in, a portal of hope amid the cold dread. But as she stepped closer, the otherworldly cries grew louder, the laughter crescendoing into a cacophony of despair. "Leave or suffer," they warned, the shadows swirling around her legs, clawing to pull her back, just a few more steps. As she approached, the light expanded, illuminating a path encased by tall, dark trees. At the end of it stood a girl like Lily but not, spectral and ethereal, eyes wide and pleading. "Emily," the apparition whispered, a haunting melody. You shouldn't have come here. The ground quaked under her feet, an unseen force swirling the shadows into chaos. Panic washed over Emily as she glanced back. Darkness encroached, clawing at her with enhanced fury. Lily. Is that you? The girl nodded, but her expression shifted, growing somber. You must choose. What do you mean? The shadows roared, threatening to swallow her as the ground shifted beneath her. Choose between light and dark. In that moment, an overwhelming sense of dread washed over her. What choice could possibly save her sister? Would she sacrifice herself for Lily, or would the dark claim them both? The glowing path pulsated with energy, and as it beckoned, all she could hear was the shadowy laughter, echoing behind her. Would she step into the light and face the unimaginable, or would she turn back and risk losing everything she loved? The choice loomed ahead like the path into the unknown. What lay ahead? Was it hope or horror? Time was running out. The air crackled with tension, like the moments before a storm. Emily looked between the flickering light and the encroaching shadows, her heart pounding fiercely. The apparition of Lily stood just ahead, a fragile beacon, her form wavering in the dark. Yet the warnings whispered around her, shifting like the wind, unstoppable, sinister. Choose, the voice echoed from the depths of the forest, higher and deeper all at once. It seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. Each syllable dripped with malice and despair. What happens if I choose the light? Emily's voice trembled, strained against the weight of the question. Lily's spectral form stepped forward, the shadows swirling around her like storm clouds ready to burst. You must trust. But it's more than just you now, it's me too. A flicker of pain crossed her face, a sight that hollowed out Emily's stomach. Desperation clawed at her. And if I choose the dark? The smile that crested Lily's lips faltered, replaced by a profound sorrow. Then the darkness will take us both. It seeks to feed. Emily's thoughts raced. She wanted to believe in the light, but dread coiled tightly around her thoughts, whispering thinly veiled truths about the cost of hope. She was already deep in the forest of shadows. What if there was no way out? What if both choices led to ruin? The air turned stale as the shadows groaned, their presence shifting closer, claiming their territory, bearing jagged teeth made of black fog. The cries of the lost children grew into a frantic chorus, their haunting voices merging seamlessly into a thundering buzz. Suffer, suffer. Emily trembled, scanning the dark, desperate for an answer. Panic surged through her veins, quickening her pulse. What do you need from me? She shouted into the parasitic darkness. Your heart. It was a guttural hiss, yet it morphed into sweetness, echoing promises of what could be if only she let go. Just let go. The light flickered again like a moth winging toward an unquenchable flame. If she could just grasp hold of it, if she could just make that leap. Her sister's pleading gaze drilled into her soul, mixing with the shadowy brightness glowing against her skin. What if the light hurts us? She whispered, but deep down, she felt the spark of courage, the memories of giggles, of shared dreams bursting forth against the night's torment. Could it be worth it? The shadows stretched their tendrils, wrapping tightly around her ankles like cold, clammy hands. Emily took a shaky step forward, her instinct screaming that she should run, that every fiber of her being was at war. But the darkness was upon her, dragging her back into a pit of despair. Choose. Or become a part of us. The echoes crashed over her like tidal waves, but she locked her gaze on Lily, and in that moment, the choice crystallized. She needed to fight. Not just for herself, but for the sister she'd lost. Light. She screamed, a scream of will to break the silence, to defy the claws of darkness. As the word left her lips, the shadows howled, their myriad voices colliding in fury, twisting like tornadoes. The bitter cold seeped into her bones as darkness surged, a tidal wave swerving in reaction to her defiance. The light before her flared, exploded, filling the forest with a brilliant, blinding glow. Emily felt its warmth pushing against the chill, filling her with a might she didn't know she possessed. But Lily's face twisted in pain as she stretched her hands out. No. You must. Emily met Lily's gaze, the connection igniting hope like a fragile flame against the storm. Together. And just like that, shadows clawed back, retreating in chaotic disarray as the light embraced them both. Suddenly, everything went still, but in that stillness, a voice slinked into the depths of her mind, low and mocking. You think you are free? This is just the beginning. Had she truly escaped, or had she merely awakened something far worse? Time felt suspended as fear snaked back in, coiling tighter. The forest appeared different now, as if tainted by dark knowledge that only she could unlock. What? Horror simmered beneath the surface, waiting for the right moment to strike again. Emily's pulse quickened as she stepped forward into the light, each step feeling increasingly reckless. What kind of presence lurked just out of reach? Would the darkness rise again to claim them? The echo of the trees whispered behind her as she pressed on, the clattering of hope and dread morphing into a chaotic lullaby, but the whispers persisted, relentless. We will find you. Emily's heart pounded as she pushed deeper into the light, dragging Lily's spirit with her. Around them, the familiar murmur of the forest transformed, shifting the ominous energy into a hum of possibility. Panic mingled with resolve as they stepped back from the abyss a threshold crossed, yet the shadows still writhed at the edges, lurking and waiting. Mommy. The sweet voice pierced her thoughts, breaking the spell of dread. It wasn't just Emily's heart that broke as she screamed Lily's name. The world trembled around them, branches creaked, earth moaned, and shadows shrieked in response. Hold on. She shouted, the panic chasing the shadows, forcing them back. She clutched Lily's ghostly hand tighter, each tiny bit of warmth clashing against the cold terror that pulled at her instincts. Darkness hissed like steam from a boiling pot. You chose the light. But you're too late. The curse lives on. With those words, the ground began to tremble, trees swaying violently. Emily felt the pressure in her chest rise as fear coursed through the air. She fought to keep grounding herself with thoughts of remembrance, Lily's laughter, their bedtime stories, the warmth of her tiny body nestled close. Those memories ignited a fire within her, pushing back against the consuming darkness that threatened to overtake them. Remember our promise. She shouted into the chaos. We will find each other, no matter what. In the swirling shadows, the figures of lost children began to appear again, their faces twisted in grief and anger. You cannot leave. We were promised souls to fill our own. But Emily could feel the light igniting something deeper inside her. She was no longer afraid. The connection with Lily grew stronger, like roots intertwining beneath the surface, a foundation linking their spirits. Join us. They wailed, but Emily stood firm, the remnants of fear fading. We are not a part of your curse. Her voice rang clear, a solid note cutting through the darkness as she balled her fists. I will not let you take us. Her courage poured out, splashing against the shadows. The contrast was stark, a luminescent glow battling with the suffocating dark. The others recoiled, their faces twisting in rage, power dissipating momentarily. Then, with a surge of might, Emily pulled deeply from the light surrounding them. Together, Lily! She cried, her spirit dancing with her sister as they propelled forward, creating a wave of energy that surged brighter, pushing against the encroaching void. Flee! The shadows throbbed under the pressure, twisting and curling away from the advancing light. Cries erupted from them, an agonized symphony of protests. In a blink, the vibrant light engulfed the clearing, spiraling outward. Emily felt the heat of it, not just warmth, but a gentle embrace of salvation. Go! She commanded. And without hesitation, she poured everything into that radiant force, sending it surging across the cursed ground, illuminating every corner of the cursed forest. Tendrils of darkness shrieked one last time as the shadows recoiled, howling like a windstorm. The air whipped around them, tearing at her throat, choking at her last remnants of doubt. As the bright light diffused, clearing the despair, something shifted. Hushed whispers filled the air, a vivid contrast to the eerie laughter that had haunted her. The lost children, now appearing compassionate, reached toward her with fading silhouettes of hope. "Find peace," they whispered, expressions softening as resolution coated the heaviness that fogged their presence. One by one, shadows melted away like smoke in the wind, lights dancing around as a comforting presence replaced the bitterness. Emily enveloped the moment, squeezing Lily's hand tightly. "I'm here," she breathed, meeting the warmth of her sister's gaze, a snapshot of joy and love reminiscent of sunny days long gone. Then everything changed. The shadows broke apart, dissolving into nothingness, consumed by the brilliance of Emily's magic. It felt like a moment captured in time but fleeting, the darkness surrendering like terrified whispers. Against the storm, the air turned soft, and suddenly, the forest around them shone with life. The oppressive weight lifted, replaced by a bright sky unveiling its vibrant hues, full of warmth and possibility. Emily gasped, pulling Lily into a fierce embrace, hearts pounding with a shared pulse of love. "Lily, we're free," Emily whispered, her heart soaring as the world shifted beneath their feet. They had fought the shadows and won. Together. Her spirit aglow, pulsating with newfound freedom. As they stepped from the forest's edge, the reality of Clearwater flickered around them, whispers fading like remnants of a dream. The past began to dissolve into gentle echoes, the burden of shame swept away. Emily knew they'd emerge changed, yet filled with hope. With every fiber of her being, she felt the pull towards the town center, toward the friends, the memories, and even the shadows of the past to face with clarity. She would tell them all she had witnessed, what it meant to confront fear and embrace truth, reclaiming the lost children's legacy. The weight of darkness was behind her as they reclaimed the life awaiting beyond the woods. Those whispers of pain would no longer control their fate. They were survivors. Standing tall, they vowed to remember the children, honor them with hope and craft new stories where fear had once held sway. And as the sun bathed them in golden light, Emily smiled with fierce determination. The curse of Clearwater had been stripped bare. And now, finally, a chance at redemption loomed ahead. Don't forget to remember, every shadow hides a story. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to feed the algorithm and help more people discover these tales. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this ending. Your voice matters. And don't wait even one more second. Share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans know the importance of supporting the channel through these actions.